I'm David Clark, and my research is focused on the future of the internet. I work inside CSAIL. I started working on the internet in the mid-1970s. My work has definitely changed over the decades. In the 1970s, we were just writing code and trying to get the basic thing to work. In the 1980s, we were trying to get the internet to get bigger. We were worried about scale. The PC had happened. We realized we were hooking up a lot more computers than we thought. 1990s was the decade when it started to become commercially important, and I changed my research to focus on economics as much as technology, because I realized the technologists were not in charge of the future. In the 2000s, I've been more interested in policy and social implications of the internet. So my work has changed over the decades, but it's always been focused on the design of the core architecture of the internet and the future of the internet and where it's going. I change my research methods depending on what problem we have. Security and privacy are a really important issue right now. They've actually been an important issue for a long time. There's this misunderstanding that in the early days of the internet we didn't think about security. We tried to think about it really hard, but in truth we didn't understand the basic models about how to think about it in the 1970s and the 1980s. Right now we have a lot of security problems that are not actually caused by the internet. What I mean by that is they're not caused by the packet carriage mechanism. A lot of the security problems we have are inside the applications. What I call the free internet experience, the fact that Facebook is free and Twitter is free, all of that's being paid for by advertising. And we're coming into a tremendous tussle over the necessity for tracking users and profiling them, which people consider a violation of privacy. We see big companies like Facebook and Google sucking up more and more of the advertising money, which makes it harder for a small website to live off advertising money. So I think that there are some serious issues about what I would call the economics of the internet experience. One answer could be a strong push to develop new classes of applications that were not solely motivated by commercial return. I think there is a tension today between the interests of the users and the interest of the commercial application developers that are building the apps that are defining the internet experience today. You know, Facebook markets us to their advertisers. We are the product. And I think most people value the features that Facebook brings them, but there's always this tension of Facebook seems to own my social network. Why should they own my social network? Shouldn't I own my social network? And I think there's going to be a lot of working out here. And some of it's going to be done by regulation. Some of it may be done by new companies. It would be nice if there was some policy magic bullet we could invent that would somehow make things better. I don't actually think that there's a magic point of intervention where we can come in, because the internet is this very heterogeneous space. I think we could benefit from policy about international intervention in crime. I think we could benefit from a uniform policy about access to applications. I don't think we're going to do that. There are nations that are simply going to regulate applications domestically. I think in this country, I am actually less worried about strict network neutrality than I am about policy related to gathering information about people and aggregating it in various ways and using it for purposes that are not fully disclosed. And I think there will be policy regulation in that space, because I think we're coming to a head about the issues of privacy and tracking of users and gathering of data. Internet service providers today, due to the recent changes in regulation from the FCC, now appear to have the authority to look at everything you do and capture that and sell that information for advertising purposes, and I think there's going to be a backlash there. But if you look back to the early days of the internet, the reason we have email and the reason we have file transfer and telnet, the early protocols, is that they were developed using funding from the federal government. And the reason we have the web the way we do is that when Tim Berners-Lee conceived it, he wasn't trying to start a profit-making company, and so he designed this very decentralized system. It takes a lot of work to design decentralized applications. It's easier to build centralized applications like Facebook. And who's going to pay to develop a decentralized solution if the only source of money is commercial return on investment? So in some sense, the future of the internet is defined by who's going to invest in it, and society has to make a decision who's going to pay for it.